Hi all, in this video we will try to understand various references for astrology, even for mundane astrology in the medieval times. So a mention is made in Akbar Nama and even in the book Jahangir Nama that astrology had a place of honor even in those days. So if you see the Jahangir Nama, so there is a reference, a child of his age, he is actually the Jahangir, also believed in astrology and was careful to give alms to ward off the inauspiciousness that could be occasioned by some bad conjunction of planets. So Jahangir used to give some alms, used to give some donations to ward off the inauspicious effects of his horoscope. So in Jahangir Nama it was written, so based on this you can say Jahangir used to believe in astrology. And even in the book Jahangir Nama you can also find that since a conjunction of Mars and Saturn, so whenever there's a conjunction of Mars and Saturn, you generally predict wars and all the stuff, right? Based on the sign it occurs. So Mars and Saturn conjunction in a sign like Capricorn can easily trigger wars, you can say, right? So in that particular book, Jahangir Nama, you can see a conjunction of Mars and Saturn. So in the mundane astrology, conjunction of Mars and Saturn can make the world frictional, can lead to wars based on the sign in which they actually conjoin, and in a particular person's horoscope if it occurs. So Mars is naturally, so Mars and Saturn, they are natural malefics, right? So of course based on the lagna you need to predict if it is malefic to the ascendant or not. But by nature, if you observe Mars and Saturn, when they conjoin, they can result some kind of frictional behavior in the person. The person's attitude is somewhat frictional, somewhat irritating kind of, right? That is the by nature I am talking about. If let us say Mars and Saturn are in conjunction in a sign like Capricorn, Mars is exalted and Saturn is in its own sign. So if it is let us say if it is happening for a Capricorn ascendant guy itself, just imagine for Capricorn ascendant, Saturn and Mars, those two are the Yogakaraka planets. So that can result in a very great person, right? That is a different thing. But by nature it can also give a kind of irritating behavior to a person, right? So we are talking about the mundane astrology more, let us say. So the conjunction of Mars and Saturn, what is written in Jahangir Nama, we are trying to understand that. So since a conjunction of Mars and Saturn, the two inauspicious planets, had occurred on Saturday, the 7th, I ordered gold, silver, other metals and all sorts of grains to be given in alms to the poor and needy and distributed throughout most of the realm. So as there was a bad conjunction happening, so Jahangir actually gave alms to different people in the kingdom, so that it's a kind of propitiation, right? So that is one thing. And in Jahangir Nama or Akbar Nama you can find this one also, that is Prince Khurram is born on the last day of Rabi, so that's around 5th January 1592. after the elapse of 5 hours and 12 minutes of the eve of Thursday, which was known as Mubarak Shamba, during the Jahangir era, with Libra in the ascendant, by the reckoning of Persian astrologers, or you can say Virgo ascendant by reckoning of Indian astrologers. So based on different astrologers also, they had different horoscopes, and so they were interested in this kind of astrological analysis. So based on the planetary positions, predicting the life events and all the stuff, they were very much interested in. So that's what we can understand from this. Even they had in the court, they used to have the Indian astrologers as well as the Persian astrologers. So what each and every astrologer is saying, they used to listen to them very carefully. They used to understand what they were saying very carefully, and based on that they used to take some decisions, right? So they used to respect astrology. This is the fundamental point we need to note here. And another statement is the star of the constellation of the Kalphat was born in Lahore to the daughter of Raja Udal Singh. So the date of his regal birth carries with it such glad tidings, for during this month took place the blessed birth of the prophet. It is also a sign of auspiciousness and divine guidance that at the beginning of every millennium a world ruler should come into existence to eradicate rebellion and ignorance from the world, just as the rising of this star had been predicted 565 years prior to this by Afzaluddin Hakim Khakani when he composed this quatrain. They say that every 1,000 years there comes into this world one that is privy to the people of perfection. So there were astrological predictions as well as there were some astrological dictums. Here there was one dictum, you can say, whenever something is started, something like 1,000 years of one millennium is over, let us say, and another millennium is starting, then people believe at the initial years of a millennium, a fresh millennium, right? So there's a possibility of birth of some greatest people in the world, right? So that's what they used to believe. And based on the rising star, they used to predict something, whether it is very much auspicious or not. So based on that, they used to predict the greatest things. So this is one important point we need to make a note. And in another page in Akbarnama or Jahangirnama, you can find December 2, a solar eclipse occurred. To repel the inauspiciousness, I had myself weighed against gold and silver and distributed to deserving. So just understand this. So they were actually very much cautious about the solar eclipse that during that medieval times. And based on the solar eclipse, they used to perform some kind of propitiations in order to ward off the inauspiciousness. So this was also clearly mentioned in Jahangirnama or Akbarnama. So clearly in the medieval times in ancient India, the rulers, even the Persian rulers, were very much interested in astrology. And then if you observe another important point here, the 2 watches and 1 ghari had elapsed the eve of Friday when the world illuminating sun entered the constellation of Aries, its house of splendor and culmination. At the very hour sun entered Aries, which is an auspicious hour, I sat on the throne of the felicity and fortune. Just see, whenever sun enters Aries, people celebrate New Year in India, right? That means sun enters Aries in the sense sun enters the Ashwini Nakshatra, that is the first nakshatra, right, in the whole constellation, in the whole zodiac. Now, the moment sun enters Aries, means the moment sun enters Ashwini Nakshatra, that it was treated as very much auspicious, the first hour especially. Just imagine, so that was the Muhurta where, I think Jahangir or Akbar sat on the throne for better fortune. So they believed in astrology, right? So as sun represents the king generally, and whenever sun is entering Aries in the first few hours, they thought it was very much auspicious, and so they used that energy clearly. And if you observe another quote, August 19, the forward camp was dispatched at an auspicious hour in the direction of Agra. The astronomers and astrologers had previously determined this hour for decamping. So this is another reference in Jahangir Nama or Akbar Nama. So they had a kind of belief that this hour is auspicious. So everything is really based on the planetary energies amalgamation, the mixing of those energies. So they had this kind of belief, they used to believe in astrology. Very clearly it was mentioned. So in the medieval times, Persians also very good in astrology, you can say, right? And Indians, of course, still believing in a lot of astrology. They are doing a lot of researches, even though they lost so much of astrological knowledge because of the intruders, because of the foreign forces. So clearly the foreign forces really destroyed a lot of astrological knowledge, so much gone, but still people are in search of more and more wisdom, astrological wisdom. So thanks for watching this video. We'll meet in other video.